Start.
Yes, Bismillah, Bismillah. Let's go for it.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اما بعد. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another one of our discussion sessions with myself and Misbah. We're going to hopefully carry on from the same kind of format that we did last time. So without any more introductions, let's crack on. Assalamu alaikum, Misbah. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very well, thank you. So yesterday's talk with Brother Naveed, who's also on with us, was discussing some of the issues that the youth face during Ramadan, and he gave some suggestions or some things that they could do to try and help them overcome those things. Now, for me, just looking back, a lot of us as adults face a lot of similar issues, right? So, for example, getting up for a suhoor, staying up late at night, working that around, say, your work and your office work and the timings and all those kind of things. So I think a lot of those things are common, and I think it's to do with, from my perspective, I would argue that it's a lack of preparation. Okay, we don't have that. We're not in that Ramadan mindset. Okay, and yet for a lot of other things, we are able to get ourselves in that mindset. So, for example, from your perspective, I presume when you've got studies or exams coming up, you're preparing 6 weeks in advance, right, or months in advance. You're having extra revision lessons. You're topping all that kind of stuff up. What is it do you think that's preventing us from getting in that right kind of mindset, ready for Ramadan, so that we effectively hit the ground running, right? We're ready. We know what we're going to do. We're part of it. It's all kind of, we're all hyped up and we're ready to go. What do you think is lacking?
So I think a lot of students and a lot of people my age always have exams around Ramadan time. So I think it's quite difficult to understand how to balance the two. I also think that I don't want to put it all on this, but mosques definitely play a huge part in kind of the lead up to Ramadan and kind of how excited everybody's feeling about it. And I just don't think they're fulfilling as much as a role with the youth as they should be. As you can see with stuff like Christmas and Easter, there's always like a big, I wouldn't say celebration, but a big run up. Couple of weeks in advance, everybody's excited for Christmas, everybody's getting together, everybody's talking about it. I think with Ramadan, it's kind of, it comes and we just start and everyone's just off doing their own thing. There's not really a community feel. I think maybe a solution for this, when I was thinking about this question, was maybe doing a lot more community activities and group activities. So for example, Ramadan is all about understanding and basically building your relationship with Allah. So I think us as a community getting together, maybe doing social work, giving back to the homeless in Slough, which is a really big problem, that kind of thing would definitely encourage the youth to kind of get together and be excited for Ramadan and have activities to look forward to and kind of give them a focus. But yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I was thinking about.
Yeah, so it's good. It's not just about being individual and selfish, but we should almost be using it as an opportunity to give back, right? When you want to increase your own God consciousness and you want to feel the right kind of attitude towards the deen, we should be looking at other people and what we can do to help them, those that don't have what we have, or giving them the opportunities. So that's a good point. I think that's certainly something that we probably don't do all the time, or it's kind of lacking. I mean, Naveed, what do you think in terms of, are we social enough? Are we giving back as much as we should do to the community?
Okay, so interesting point. Okay, have you heard of the term keyboard warrior or weekend warrior? Yeah, you've heard of this term, right? So the definition of a keyboard warrior is someone who's he's phenomenal on the keyboard. A weekend warrior, somebody who does his 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then come the weekend, it's like bang, he'll go abseiling, he'll go rock climbing, he'll go deep sea diving, and then come Monday morning, 9 o'clock, he's in the office back to normal. Yeah. You know, there's another thing called Ramadan warriors. Yeah, it's the same concept. What happens is, and what I'm doing here is I'm almost throwing the onus back on you guys out there, saying, look, it's not just about the mosque or the community. We have a habit we have a personality, a character trait where we become Ramadan warriors for 30 days, for 1 month of the year, and then the rest of the year, we're not connected. Okay, so that's point number one. The second point is, look, I take your point about mosques doing more, and they tend to be the sort of the center of the community. But my question to you guys then is, how connected are you to the mosque? Right? I can tell you right now that there is a plan to do a homeless feed and a hospital visit, and you guys have just signed up. Thank you very much. So, you know, were you aware of that? Probably
Yeah,
not.
absolutely.
But are you connected enough to the mosque, to the community, to get involved in these? Is it my internet, or is it somebody else's?
I think it's yours, but I understand what you're saying, that we're not connected, we're Ramadan warriors, that 30 days, we think we're going to do everything we can for society and for us, and that's the best kind of time to do it. So yeah, that's a very, very good point. But you know, it's like, well, look, maybe this Ramadan is going to be different. Maybe this Ramadan we've learned that, look, we don't want to be just Ramadan warriors. We want to be regular warriors who are out there and concerned about this all the time. But I think also it's a question of the role of the mosques have changed, and the question is, have they come along with it? And I don't want to dive into that side of things. That's a massive topic, okay? The mosques do what they can with the limited budget, with the limited ideas that they have. They are coming on board a lot more, trying to help the younger generation, as the younger generation getting more involved with the mosques. Now, that wasn't happening before, right? But I'm trying to think of it from the perspective of, okay, you know, we should also use this time, you're right, to engage more with the mosques and try and see what we can do more there. So with the whole community, though, not just concentrate on the Muslim community, right? There's a huge amount of people out there that need our help, our advice. So we shouldn't just be. I find sometimes there's that mentality that, you know, we kind of obviously give zakat during Ramadan, okay, but it will be to the charities that are helping Syria and Kashmir and all that. There's local places that need your help. There's local charities and local work that needs to go on that, you know, we should be helping and doing, and not just focusing on abroad only in the Muslim lands, right? What do you think of that?
I would say with the mosque thing, I think it's difficult because there's such a big generation gap between the people that run the mosque and the people that they're trying to target. And I think the mosque, when they have an introduction of younger generation like Uncle Nav and my dad, for example, it kind of builds that bridge, and it connects the two generations, and it allows opportunities for us. But then again, the younger generation needs to take those opportunities and kind of go seeking for them rather than being passive about it, which is what Uncle Nav is trying to say, I think. I also think the mosque role is kind of to encourage the youth, right? And kind of encourage them to give back, not only to the Muslim community, but the community around us. And I see we have so many problems in Slough. We go to the high street to get food, and there's homeless people knocking on the window every 5 minutes. And they just want £1 or £2. They might be drug addicts, who knows? But I think there's such a big problem with, for example, homelessness, let's just take that one, that the younger generation can kind of really get involved with and kind of build that spirit between us, especially in Ramadan. I think Ramadan provides that fuel to the fire kind of to get everything started for the rest of the year. And it's also about kind of continuing that work afterwards. But I think Ramadan is the perfect time to start these kind of projects and these ideas, because all the young Muslims are ready to kind of get involved and give back to their community as well as their religion.
Good. One just came to my head as well when you were talking. One of the other things is also, I think, so I don't know what the older people on the panel, what your views are, but look, now you kind of mentioned it in your talk yesterday, was how we focus, or we're willing to spend money, our time, on making sure our kids are getting the right kind of education, right? Number one. But we're also then doing what we can to help them extracurricular wise. So get them on the Duke of Edinburgh award for this, or try and push them to do this for someone else, or go work in a charity shop. And yet, when it comes to the deen, we won't necessarily add that extra effort to help them as youngsters to develop. we should be. What can you give some sort of example that we could do to help them develop as youngsters?
Well, absolutely. Yes, that's a good point. And look, the reality is that the disconnect exists both in our sort of level as parents, let's say, as well as within the younger generation, the youth itself. So the challenge, I think, is, look, why is there a disconnect? Why do we become Ramadan warriors when we're emotionally high? And why do we put, priority over things like tuition and education and all the other sort of fluffy stuff, and we always put our deen kind of to the side, and we kind of dip in and dip out as and when we feel we need to. It's that classic scenario when the Quran at the end of Ramadan goes back on the shelf, and then it won't be touched, and you'll be wiping off the dust, hopefully, if we're still around the following Ramadan, right? So it's really a change of mindset to say, look, our deen and our teachings and our actions that we should be doing both within our society and within our personal lives take place day in, day out, every minute, every day, 365 days a year. In fact, you can take any action that you want to do on a daily basis and you can turn it into an act of ibadah just by linking it back to a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, by doing it, saying Bismillah, by linking it and understanding that what you're doing is for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See how easy it is to actually link everyday acts to acts of ibadah. That's the reality, okay? But do we do that enough? No, we don't. Why don't we do that? Because we're in a rat race. We're in a rat race where we're just chasing, it's the classic scenario. You get a job, you get a salary, you go and buy a car, you go and buy a sofa set, and then you're like, okay, well, actually, I need the 55-inch TV, and I need a new kitchen. How do I get it? Well, I have to go and get another job, which pays more. So then you go get another job, it pays you more. Now you get the kitchen, now you get something else, and now you need something else. The only way to fix it is to go and get another job that pays you more than the last one and continue the cycle. The problem with this is that you're always in this cycle and you never get to the point that where you're actually content and happy. The trick is to actually evaluate what you do have, what you have in your possession, and be content with what you have. Find goodness and happiness in taking your kids to the park on the Sunday, spending time with your wife, your husband, your family, your parents, your in-laws, quality time, having a barbecue, inviting your friends and your family over. This is where you will find true happiness. But the problem is, it comes back to this rat race. Until we get out of this thought process, until we get out of this mentality, that's the only way we're actually going to change our approach. Now, going forward, we need to, yes, education, we need to educate ourselves throughout the year, but we need to be involved and active in a variety of things, not just in Ramadan, but outside Ramadan. So Alhamdulillah, I'll give you an example. Brother Asim, myself, some of the other brothers were involved in some community sport related activities. And the objective here is to get some of the youth off the streets involved in a sport, something they enjoy, something they're passionate about. And through that channel, we're hoping that we can impart with some knowledge or do a little bit of dawah or guide them off the streets away from the gang culture that we spoke about yesterday. And that's just one step in that direction. Just touching on homeless feeds and hospital visits and stuff like that. These are great things. The mosque actually, just to add, do this on a regular basis. But the problem is, it's the same individuals that are doing it each and every time. So I would challenge you guys out there to say, right, Alhamdulillah, you guys have got the right idea. You're here, you're learning, you're engaging, we're having this discussion. So you have an understanding of what you need to do and where you should be, right? We accept that. The question is it enough? We also accept that it's not enough. Now we know that there are some things that we can do over and above what we do today. I would say to you, come and talk to us. let's get out there. Let's go and talk to the mosque management team. There's a feed coming up. There's a hospital visit coming up. Let's see who's really up for this and who's really willing to give up and sacrifice some of their time to go and put a smile on somebody else's face. This is dawah. This is selflessness. This is generosity. This is sadaqah, right? This is all, these are all the principles that our deen teaches us. So great stuff, Misbah. I'm glad you mentioned that. The next step is, let's get out there and let's actually get involved. And then let's try and build on that. Let's see how we can do that and other things throughout the year.
Yeah, good. Some good points. Very good point. But what I would not argue, but I would suggest that look at the moment we're in Ramadan, and these things that you brought up, Muslims should be doing that or trying to do that anyway, right? Whether it's Ramadan or not Ramadan. And my kind of point for this was to try and folks out of Misbah, what is it that's really affecting them as youngsters, and really focusing and being part of the Ramadan experience. Because let's be honest, right? A lot of us will come to it from where? You go to your, and one of the brothers put a question on here, and we'll come to it in a minute, is about there's like an element of fatigue, and the build up to these things. You walk into a superstore, one of these big superstores, 1 month before, they're preparing us for Ramadan. They're letting you know that it's coming up. Here's all the food you're going to need because you'll be fasting, and they'll reduce the prices of all your what they call our essentials, right? That you need. So you're thinking, oh right, Ramadan's coming up. The kajus are on sale, or dates are on sale, and everything else that you're going to need. That's not preparation, So rather than that, I want to know what kind of things would they, from a young person's perspective, remind them that, look, you know what, Ramadan is coming. And what I'm trying to get to is, does it begin with the home? It's your environment that you're in. It's the relationship you have with your children. That's the key thing, that if as a father or a mother, you're not constantly discussing with your children about what's happening today, about what's coming up, you're going to miss out on, or they're going to miss out on that whole kind of feel-good factor about whatever's happening, like in Ramadan. So that's the kind of thing I was trying to get from Misbah, is like, what do you think we could do or what could happen so that you feel more a part of the Ramadan experience? Yes, I agree now that we should be doing those things and be a part of that, and that is absolutely where the next step is, and it should be heightened during Ramadan. But I wanted to, what was it we as adults can do for the younger generation coming up to and during Ramadan? Misbah, what do you think?
I think a really good point about kind of the exposure you get. So being at home, I'm very privileged because my dad will always talk to us about this kind of stuff, but not everybody has that privilege. And I think it definitely starts from home. Seeing as how much people value education, it's because they're always getting fed that information from school, from their parents. So if the same emphasis was put on Ramadan and put on the deen and put on, this is an amazing month for you to do so much for your deen, then I think young people would get so much more involved and so much more committed. I also think it's about the media you take in. I think there's so much distractions out there. You're going through TikTok, going through Instagram, through Snapchat. Young people spend so much time going through this and getting brainwashed with the most out there ideas, and there's not really enough to combat that with the stuff that we want to portray. So Ramadan, for example, I think definitely number one, the parents are a huge source and a huge kind of motivation for children to get involved and that exposure to information. Number two, I think the community work, I think, is another one that's really important. And number three, I think, is the people you surround yourself with. I mean, we as young people all have that responsibility to be around people that are going to elevate us and are going to push us to go to the next level and push us in our deen, our education. They always say network. So, for example, I'm a law student. It's very important for us to network and have connections in this firm and that firm, and get involved with this panel and that discussion panel. But that same emphasis is not put on Ramadan and kind of making connections in our community. So, for example, if I had a connection with, for example, Uncle Nav, he's doing so much work with the mosque. If I didn't have that connection with Uncle Nav, then I wouldn't know of that information. I wouldn't be as enticed to get involved in that in those projects. So I think it's all about the connections we make as well. So kind of reaching those young children that don't have that exposure at home is the responsibility of other people, for example, my dad and Uncle Haroon, to kind of get involved and kind of reach out to those young people, I think is another idea.
And do you see that, or have you experienced a situation where people will not undertake or take part in Ramadan because of the pressures they feel from work? For, like you suggest, we've got a meeting coming up, we're going to have to go out for dinner. We've got clients coming, or where am I going to, even if they don't pray throughout the year, they feel they need to do in Ramadan. It's like, oh my God, the door's open and someone's walked in. Do you think those kind of pressures are kind of heightened? And that's one of the things that, well, that makes it difficult for them to kind of focus on it or really kind of enjoy it and be a part of it?
I think it is definitely a pressure. So, for example, I've had exams in Ramadan since my GCSEs, A levels, uni exams. They've always been in Ramadan, or the lead up to it, for example. I think as young people, it is a choice, though. And I think I don't want to use, like I've always said, I don't want to use exams as an excuse. Do you know what I mean? I think it's very important to understand what you should be prioritizing. So exams, yes, that is for this world, and you want to progress in this world, and you want to get a good job, all of that. But also, you don't want to be sacrificing your deen. You really don't, especially during exam time.
Sorry, but that's a very good point you made there, and I'd like a wider kind of discussion actually just around this, because I know of people, families, who say, no, it's exam time. My child needs to focus on their revision. I'm fasting, but I'm going to do everything I can to make the environment right for my child, okay? To make sure they can focus on the revision, whatever. And if there's any time left over, they'll do the fast. And likewise with the adults, where they say, look, my profession is that I'm so busy, it's so difficult, I'll just pay the child with whatever it is, and that's it. It's fine for me not to kind of get involved with that. I mean, what are your views on that? Because there are people out there who generally feel that it's okay to do that.
Look, let's be completely clear. As an adult, as once you're past the age of puberty, fasting is fard upon you. Okay, now we can discuss X, Y, Z reason all day long till the cows come home. It doesn't make any difference unless you have a medical condition, unless you have a mental problem, or you're not fully sane, or whatever. We know these things, right? Unless you fall into one of those categories, you are not exempt from fasting. So if your exam comes up, do you know what? It doesn't matter, right? It's qadar Allah. You have to have enough faith. You have to have enough trust, knowing that, okay, you're hungry and you're tired, you haven't had enough sleep, and you're going to go into your exam. But if you have enough belief in Iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always give whatever result is best for you, right? We spoke about this the other day, where when you make a dua, and we have a habit, we always make a dua when we want something, when we're in need of something, and then when we have it, we kind of forget, don't we, right? And sometimes Allah doesn't always appear to have answered your dua there and then. But we don't know. This is the problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infinite wisdom. He knows when is the right time to answer our dua, and whether our request actually is even good for us or not. He knows what's best for us. He knows when it's best for us. And he knows when he has it planned for us, depending on how we interact and have our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so let's just be very clear that all of these things are excuses. They are materialistic issues, dunya issues, so to speak. I'm not saying, it's easy. I get it. We've been there ourselves. Our kids are going through it. I get it. It's tough, but it doesn't make you exempt from fasting. Okay, now that's interesting, because I was just listening to you guys a couple of minutes ago. I'm kind of thinking, look, from a youth perspective, perhaps Misbah, you can answer this. When you go into your uni or college and you're fasting, and you haven't eaten, you're tired, lack of sleep, you're thinking Dhuhr time is coming up or Asr time is coming up, and you're trying to plan your day and all the activities and all the obligations that you must fulfill. How do you feel? And how do the people around you react to you? Are they, do they absorb it? Do they interact with you? Do they engage with you and they want to know what you're doing and why you're doing it? Or do you take the opportunity to do that? You know, I'm trying to come back to the actual challenges you guys are facing. So I'd like to understand from my perspective, you know, when you're in that boat, what makes it tough for you guys?
I think university is an amazing environment. I think the people that are at university want to learn and they want to educate themselves and they want to become more well-rounded, and they're always interested to find out more. I'm very fortunate with the university I go to. It's very ethnic. There's a lot of Muslims there, Arabs, Africans, Oriental. There's so many different types of people there. I think for me, I'm fortunate in that position because there's lots of Muslims around me, so we're all in the same kind of boat. It is kind of difficult when some people wouldn't understand. So for example, if it's Jummah time, but for example, everyone wants to study or they want to go out for lunch, that's kind of where it gets a little bit awkward. But when you surround yourself with the correct people, and if it's just not just me, it's never just me, it's going to be some of my friends as well, we're all going to go pray Jummah together, then it becomes more comfortable, I think. So it's definitely about the people you surround yourself with at university. It's definitely about the way you approach things as well. I think at the university I go to, everything is an argument because it's very
Of course.
everyone's got very strong opinions on a lot of things. Even within Islam, our ISOC is very controversial. Everyone's got different opinions. It's a great environment to be in. You learn a lot from different people and a lot of people's perspectives, but it's also about building your own opinion. And it's difficult to know it's difficult to form your own opinion when you're hearing all this different kind of information, and it's difficult to know what's correct, what's not correct, and what you align with, because you might be doing something you think is correct, that's been correct your whole life, and someone in university's come along and said, actually, no, that's not how it works. This is the way it works. And that's when it becomes difficult. And that's where the key challenges I feel is, where's the line, and where can I get a reliable source, and where can I kind of verify my information, as well as kind of arguing my point and kind of being
Yeah.
Actually, I think you made a very good point there. Just before you come in there, one of the brothers also made a similar point. But essentially, what you're trying to say, I think, Misbah, is that the brother made the same point on the chat here, is that fasting, etc., can be a source of dawah. You know, the fact that you're fasting in school, in college, in university, you know, you naturally get asked that question. If you're not sitting there having lunch with them, or you're going off to pray or do something like that, it's almost like a discussion point that comes up automatically, enabling you to do the dawah with your friends, with the Muslims, with the non-Muslims, and it's a very good kind of starting point. And you didn't have to do anything about it; just be yourself, right? But be sure and confident about yourself. I think that's what you're trying to say. Then to have the right kind of knowledge and impart it in the correct way for those people. Sorry, now did you want to come in and we're going to make a comment?
No, I was just going to throw in the fact that, look, being at uni, it's an amazing environment in the sense that you're all learning. Everybody's formulating views and ideas and opinions and kind of becoming themselves, so to speak. But surely, you know, I think you're probably unique in the sense that you have some good grounding, you have the right environment, alhamdulillah. Okay, but I don't know whether your friends or people that you know your age or younger, I see Zen sitting in the background there, his age, you know, do you have friends who are not fasting, who are looking for excuses? Do you know, I mean, how do you deal with them? How do you try and convince them that, look, actually, you should do it? Rather than them being a bad influence on you, how do you become a good influence on them? Misbah's got a lovely story, but I don't think you're quite privileged. A lot of other kids are far more challenged. So do you have friends like that? Are you faced with those sort of issues with other people?
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was in school and it was GCSEs time, a lot of kids that were Muslim that, you know, I thought would be fasting one. And I was in shock when they were coming to school. I'm not fasting today because we got an exam. And in my head, I'm thinking, what? Because I've had that privilege of having to understand the value of fasting, and it's not going to take away from your exams. It's not going to take away. It's not going to distract you. It's actually going to be the support for you. God's going to be happy with you, you're not going to be displeasing him in any way if you're not going to be fasting for your exams. And it's hard to tackle that kind of mindset because it's come from home. So their parents have said, no, it's okay, you've got exams, you shouldn't fast. The parents have said that. So it's difficult to tackle that kind of mindset. But it's very important for kids to understand the value of fasting. And actually, if you don't fast, you're displeasing God in the holy month of Ramadan. And kind of what is that impact going to be on you when you're doing your exams? Is that going to give you the results you want? I think not. But that's because I've had the privilege, as Uncle now pointed out, I've had the privilege of having the understanding, and a lot of kids don't. They just see it more as a culture. So fasting is just part of their culture. You know, some people do it, some people don't. It's all right. It's not that serious. I think understanding the value of Ramadan is kind of at the core of pushing the youth to kind of be more committed, understand the value of what you're missing out on if you don't fast, or if you're not praying, or if you're not making the most of this month. No matter what, you have exams, you have
See,
sports,
the
whatever.
danger, the danger is, and we see it in our work environments, right, I'm not fasting today because I've got an exam. Okay, well, if it's okay not to fast if you've got an exam, then guess what? When you have an interview for a job, is it okay not to fast then? Oh, you know what? I'm actually in the middle of my meeting with my management team and I'm going to miss Asr. Is it okay for me to miss Asr and make up Qadha later on? See, how far do you go? Maybe some of us will kind of be unique in the sense that our exams, and when we're that age, 15, 16, it's acceptable. And then after that, we become great individuals and follow our deen to the letter. But a lot of us don't. That when you start introducing relaxed elements where it's okay, don't worry about it. You know, your exam's important, you're forgiven for this one occasion. I see it at work. You know, how often, Haroon, you tell me, I mean, you must have seen this, how often I've been caught out a number of times on a Friday afternoon. I'm sitting in a meeting with the senior manager and the whole senior team. But you know what I do? What I do is, before I know it, I'm going to get caught out. So what I do is I tell them beforehand, quiet word, oh, by the way, it's Friday. I've got to hit my Friday prayer. At this time, I'm going to pop out for 10, 15 minutes, end off. I'm not, and it's not even a case of I'm asking them, oh, do you mind? No, it's I'm leaving the meeting and I'll be back when I'm done. And guess what? 100% of the time, they look at me and they say, no problem, Nav, go for it. Of course, we understand. It's the same, you know, you have to have the confidence to go out there and say, I am who I am. This is my belief. Islam is different to other religions. Why? Because every moment of our day is linked to our belief, to our religion. I remember when I first joined in my current role, the first day I got there, the first thing I said, and it's not a case of me blowing my own trumpet, it's me trying to show you ways of anticipating challenges and problems. The first thing I said to my manager when I was having my induction was, oh, by the way, I'm going to pop out at different times throughout the day to go and do my prayer, to go and do my salah. And if you see me popping out, that's where I'll be going. If you got any questions, just let me know. But I kind of set that bar very early, because what I didn't want to do was get there and then they think, who is this guy? Where's he going? I set it up fairly quickly. And alhamdulillah, in this diverse society today, yes, you can take it too far as well, but they're very understanding. And I think we need the confidence to be able to challenge ourselves, come out of our comfort zones and say, look, it's okay for me to say, hey guys, hey John, Steve, Michelle, I'm going for Friday prayers. Oh, guess what? I'm fasting today. Here's some dates for you guys, just as a Ramadan gift. We should be confident to kind of sell our deen in that sense, to sort of promote it and market it to all these people. Would you not agree?
I absolutely agree. I'm on that bandwagon, definitely. But Misbah, how do you feel taking that, what Nav said now, that confidence thing, right? Not everybody has that, right? You may be a very confident person, okay? And we can see that, right? From your upbringing and your ability to kind of thing, talk and interact with people. But not everybody is that confident. Not everybody is able to challenge what the status quo is. Not everybody's able to just go in and say, right, here's the thing. And one of the brothers said, hey, we should wear that identity with pride and confidence. And they found that they generally, people respect them for it. Is that something you've experienced, or is it that you become timid and you start to bring up the courage it becomes slowly and slow, or is it just you got to do it? What are your experiences like from that kind of perspective?
No, definitely. I think the world has changed so much, and especially the working environment has changed so much, and they're so much more accepting and understanding than you would think they would be. And it's so much easier for you to say, do you know what, I'm going to go pray now, and have to say it with confidence, because everyone's going to be like, yep, that's fine. No one's going to have an issue with it. And I think that's such a common misunderstanding, that people think you're going to get judged for it or anything like that. Actually, it's something you should be proud of, and it's what makes you different from everybody else. And it shows that you have a grounding in yourself, which is a great thing people look for. You're grounding, you respect your religion, you respect yourself, you are who you are. I think that's very important to represent yourself and your religion. You have to understand that you are an ambassador for Islam, you're a Muslim, and the way you represent yourself is the way you represent the whole ummah. You might be the only person that has ever interacted with someone, it might be the only Muslim they've ever interacted with, but if you represent yourself well, then they will think that of all the Muslims around you. I think the problem comes when it's more difficult, when it's a Muslim themselves that you're having a conversation with. And for example, I've been at university, and the Muslims there, oh yeah, I drink, or I'm going to go for a smoke. And I'm thinking, oh, they're like, oh, do you not smoke? Could you not drink? I'm like, no. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'm Muslim, just like you. That's not what I do. And that's when it becomes difficult, is when it's with your own people that you think have the same values as you, where it differs a lot, and where they don't kind of have the same opinion as you. That's when it becomes more difficult and a lot harder to challenge.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Now, how do you deal with a situation where you're Muslim, you're surrounded by Muslims, and you come across a situation where you want to go to pray, and you got to tell your line manager, who's like, well, hold on, we've got a meeting to go to. What are you talking about prayer? Or what? I mean, it's almost like you expect there not to be an issue, and yet your own Muslims who don't have that kind of understanding or whatever, it's almost like you're prevented from doing. That's a very good point.
Look, there's a couple of things here. First of all, I've been in exactly that kind of situation where I'm sitting in a meeting with a Muslim colleague of mine, and I get up from the meeting and say, I'm going off to pray. I look at him thinking, do you want to join me? And he's like, no. And everybody's thinking, well, how come you have to pray and how come he doesn't have to pray? What is it? Different, standards for different people? No, it's not. Of course it's not, right? But how do I then engage with him? I said this yesterday, it's very easy to judge people based on their actions, sort of upfront actions, but we don't know what background they've had. We don't know what understanding they had. We don't understand the knowledge and education they've had. They may have a different interpretation of something. So I don't mind these things personally. Why? Because it's just another opportunity for me to have a discussion and engage with somebody and talk about it. Whether it's the Muslim colleague of mine or whether it's my non-Muslim colleagues or management, it doesn't matter. Any opportunity for me to sing about my deen, to say, actually, well, you know what, this is what our deen is about. But guess what? Not everybody follows everything to the T. Some people are relaxed, some people are not. But this is me.
Yeah, you gotta almost kind of get rid of those preconceptions, right? And not assume certain things, when I think the point you made was very clear that they may not have come across this kind of environment. They may not have to deal with it. They may not have the knowledge and the confidence, and it gives you the opportunity to engage with them and help them. And yeah,
I would just add something else, that sometimes if you're the one who's got that stronger iman, you've got that slightly more confidence than the other Muslim in the room, guess what? You might be the trigger point for them to think, oh, well, actually, you know what? If he can do it, guess what? Or if she can do it, I should be doing it. And it grows from there. You've planted that seed. Yeah, it grows from there. And you don't know that you may have had a huge, brilliant impact on this person just from that one thing. Never underestimate your actions. Even the smallest thing could have a huge impact on somebody else just by them watching you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we shouldn't just react to that situation, understand it before you start making any kind of comments about them and whether they should be praying or why they're not praying. So I think that's a very good point. And how we treat others who may not have the knowledge that we have, and try and bring them on board. I think we could go on. I'm happy to carry on. It's 6:40. We did say 45 minutes. So if there's anybody who wants to ask any wider questions from the wider community, want to ask any questions, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're happy to kind of carry on. And no, you can't. Okay, go on then, Matt. You can ask the question.
Well, okay. I was just going to say that we started off talking about, well, we mentioned homeless feeds and hospital visits. So I'm going to throw a plug in there and say, guys, seriously, I'm going to give you guys information about when these activities are going to take place. Alhamdulillah, look, this is the beauty of it. We, through the background work that some of the brothers and me, we've secured some funding from different organizations for some of these activities, whether they're sports related or for the youth or just generic. So inshallah, both for homeless feed and a hospital visit, there is some funding that we've secured that we're going to put towards these two events. I've spoken to the mosque directly. They're willing and happy and excited to do these two things this month during Ramadan. So as soon as I have some more details on that, I'm more than happy to share that with you guys, Misbah, Zain, all of you guys, and get you guys out there, show your faces, go and, you know, put a smile on somebody's face, you know, just do something good, enjoy it, enjoy this emotional high during Ramadan. And let's then talk about how we can continue it beyond Ramadan. Yeah, take the positives, take all the highs, and just make it more beneficial for ourselves, inshallah, and for all the people around us in our community, inshallah.
If you could put that on the I don't know, Asam, what's the best group to kind of share that kind of information so as many people who want to take part can take part? Because one of the brothers who just comment, can they also volunteer? So we want to get as many people who want to volunteer can. Is it from the Sira admin or the Ramadan reminders?
No, we'll work that out offline. We'll work it out for everyone.
So yeah, no, that's brilliant, fantastic. It's a great way to get everyone engaged as well. So yeah, that's good. Was that a question we had from a young Unais, or
Ask a question.
how many fasts has he completed so far? Do we know? No.
Thank you.
One question.
Nice. Good.
Yeah, it's not so.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, you guys.
Yeah.
This is very good, mashallah.
I think it's been a good discussion. I think one of the takeaways is, you know, every opportunity is an opportunity to give dawah, and be mindful of the people that you're talking to or surrounded by. We all have these difficulties. Hey, listen, it's Ramadan. It's not going to be easy for anybody. Why should you expect this increase in reward and have to do nothing more than you used to before, right? Why should it be difficult for you to get up in the morning and focus? Why shouldn't it be difficult for you to go to work and spend the day doing that work and study? Because that's what's going to increase the reward that you're going to get. Allah Ta'ala wants to see you do that and experience it and still look towards Him for the strength to get through it, which He said He'll give you. So, you know, Jazakallah. I hope everyone's Ramadan is going well. I think it's time for us to let you guys go and get on with the preparation for your stars. So, Jazakallah, and we'll continue discussing the day after tomorrow.